Hello, everyone, and welcome to the award ceremony of the Confined Urban Vision short film competition. I'm Luisa Bravo, the curator of the competition, and today I will be coordinating this meeting together with my co-host, Giulia Gualtieri, and members of the jury that I will announce later. I'm very happy to welcome you all to this final online event for this competition that we started several months ago as an opportunity to reflect and discuss about this confinement. So for those who are not familiar with this competition, I would like to mention that the competition is promoted by City Space Architecture, a non-profit organization based in Bologna, Italy, which is a partner organization of the A Place project, co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. A Confined Urban Vision is also part of Urban Visions Beyond the Ideal City International Film Festival that will take place in April 2021 in Bologna, Italy. During the festival next year, there will be a special session entirely dedicated to a confined urban vision with screenings of the award-winning films, a public dialogue, and a small exhibition. I'm reading now the text from the competition brief. A confined urban vision is interested to investigate human life during the COVID-19 pandemic. While global lockdown destabilized the economy and challenged the country leaders, at the human level, the pandemic generated isolation and loneliness with a significant rise of helplessness and fear. As a reaction, many creative expressions started to redefine a sense of community across different countries and locations, strengthening solidarity and cooperation, also through social media initiatives. We, as human beings, needed to feel connected with one another, even while the virus outbreaks demanded that we remained apart, looking at the outside world from behind a window. The quarantine has raised the awareness about the essential role of urban publicness for the functioning of cities and societies. The purpose of this competition is to explore and widen the meaning of places in the unprecedented situation of the COVID-19 pandemic, rethinking human existence in the time of the pandemic and documenting ways we can live together again in the new normal by presenting, documenting, deconstructing, expanding, speculating, challenging concepts related to the lockdown period, applying a human perspective and describing how the perception in relation to public and private places has changed, while rearranging daily routines and work activities in indoor domestic spaces. And the recovery period following the lockdown in regard of physical distancing measures, with descriptions ranging from restriction of movements in public areas to new and slow restart of everyday lives, with references to the use of mobility, cars, bicycle, buses, and limitations for public life and new rules for gathering. So this is from the competition brief. Maybe we can see the numbers and the impact of this competition. We received more than 300 submissions from young filmmakers and also already established filmmakers from more than 50 countries. After a careful selection from the curatorial team, we shortlisted 42 films from 19 countries. Also, the Audience Awards received more than 630 votes. The awards that are assigned by this competition are first prize award, which is 500 euros in cash, and 2 honorable mentions with the certificate of excellence, and an audience award with the certificate of excellence. So now I would like to give the floor to Leandro Madrazo, who is the project coordinator of Place from La Salle University in Barcelona. Leandro, please.
Hello, thank you, Luisa, and welcome everybody here to this award ceremony. So I would like to start saying thank you first to Luisa Bravo and to Julia Gualtieri from City Space Architecture for organizing this competition and also this ceremony today. We are very pleased of the success of this open call, and particularly about the large number of works that have been submitted and also their quality. So as you might know, A-Place is a platform co-financed by the Creative Europe program dedicated to create reinforced links between people and places through networked artistic practices that transcend cultural, disciplinary, and spatial boundaries. The purpose of our work of this platform is to carry out site-specific creative practices with the collaboration of residents, artists, architects, students of art and architecture, and also local administrations and civic organizations. So these practices include a variety of media like video, photography, installations, performances, and the placemaking activities that we carry out are on-site and also online. As you can imagine, more and more online, as this ceremony that unfortunately we cannot do otherwise. With these activities, we want to encourage the creation of places through exchanges between artistic disciplines and also to create situated learning experiences that result from the collaboration between academia, community, and cultural agents. Confined Urban Vision, this competition, is the third open call that we have organized in the A-Place project in these first years of activities. In March, we started with the first call for video productions, which was organized by the Loop Festival in Barcelona. And it was followed by an online open call for artworks about the experience of plays during the lockdown. We invite you to follow these works and the result of these previous open calls in our website. When we started the project in October 2019, 1 year ago, we developed a comprehensive program of activities for the first year, which, like many other things, changed due to the outbreak of the COVID-19. And therefore, we had to adapt some of the originally planned activities to the limitations derived from the pandemic. And as a result, we came up also with activities that we could never have thought of when we planned this project, such as the program we call A Confined Place. The pandemic has made us all particularly aware of the value of the links we keep with the spaces we live in. During the lockdown, we have all undergone a process of self-reflection about the meaning of place. We have discovered new functions in the spaces we use, so to speak, normally in our normal lives, and we have adapted our homes and lifestyles to the unexpected living condition. I think that the works presented to this competition properly reflect this sense of place we are experiencing everywhere and at the same time. So thank you all the participants, and thank you again, Luisa and Julia, for this organization.
Thank you, Leandro. So now I'm glad to give you some instructions regarding the meeting today. We have this program of activities, and we're planning to close the event at 4:30 p.m., maybe a little bit later because we started this meeting with a short delay. But we're trying to keep a tight schedule because this event is very rich in terms of discussions and engagement. You are all muted. All participants, attendees of this meeting are muted, but in the very end of the event, in case you want to say something, we can give you the floor. So please wait until the end of the event, and later you can interact with us and with the jury. So I would like to now present the jury, which is composed of several members of the A Place project. Ruben Verdu from Barcelona. He's part of Screen Projects and the curator of Loop Festival in Barcelona. Rosaura Romero, she's from KU11 from Brussels, and she is a PhD candidate. Spela Verovske from University of Ljubljana, Slovenia, School of Architecture. Patricia Pereira from Nova, Lisboa University, Portugal. And Maria Irene Aparicio from Nova, Lisboa University, Portugal. Leandro, the project coordinator of A Place from La Salle University in Barcelona. And my assistant curator, Giulia Gualtieri, from City Space Architecture. And myself, the curator of the film festival, Urban Visions Beyond the Ideal City, and also curator of this short film competition. We also have today a guest artist and curator. I'm very glad to have Colin Fournier, who is Emeritus Professor of Architecture and Urbanism at the Bartlett School of Architecture, University College London. Colin was already part of our Urban Visions in the past, and I'm very glad he accepted our invitation to join this event today. Colin will give a short presentation regarding a recent project that he developed in Portugal called Open Cinema, which I think is perfectly related to the A Place project, and it is also addressing some of the contents that we are discussing in this competition and more in general with the film festival Urban Visions. Colin, please. Colin, you are muted.
Are you okay now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Louisa, thank you very much for your brief introduction. I think we're all impatient to talk about the movies, not about my project. But I think it is quite interesting to talk about a cinema as opposed to film, or in combination with film. And the project I'm going to talk about very briefly is appropriate because it is a confined cinema, a very confined space. It's probably one of the smallest cinemas ever built. It was a project which I did together with an artist called Marisha Lewandowska. She was actually the one who was invited in Portugal, in Guimarães, which was the cultural capital of Europe in 2012, I believe. We both went to Guimarães with the intention of doing a site-specific project, but we didn't know at first what it would be. And if I could have the next slide, what we did a lot of research in the city. Guimarães, which is one of the oldest cities in Portugal, was actually the founding city of the Kingdom of Portugal. Has a very long tradition of film. It has a very active film club, and the film club is run by two left-wing, in fact, communist directors who were very eager and very effective during the Salazar regime in overcoming the dictatorship of Salazar. So what they did for many years is that they showed films to the public, and they were free. It was a free club, and they showed every key film from my childhood, so to speak. And they kept, strangely enough, they kept the trailers, they kept the previews of all the films, which is something which is illegal, basically. You're meant to send the trailers back to the film directors, but they kept them. And so they kept this archive, this very dangerous archive of celluloid film, and we get hundreds of films. And this fascinated the artist, Marisha and myself, and we really started to think that what we would do is to essentially show these films. So it's a bit like your competition, in the sense that we wanted to show, therefore, only 3-minute long films. All the trailers are limited to 3 minutes, so it's even shorter than most of the films you saw. And we wanted to show a wide selection of these films. What we did is that we went to actually see the workers in a very major factory in Guimarães, a shoe factory. And we asked the workers to vote as to which films they wanted to see. Could we have the next? And the next? And the next? They kept all the original posters of the film. So you have La Dolce Vita, next. And Amarcord, next. Eyes Wide Shut, and next. Citizen Kane, next. And Charlie Chaplin's very politically radical film, next. And basically we were thinking, how should we show these films? We had thinking of renting one of the cinemas in the city as a place, but we really wanted the project to be as much involved with public space, with people in the street as possible. So we thought about having a dedicated application where people could actually have access anytime, any place to all these films. But finally, if we go to the next, I decided that it'd be much more fun to actually to manufacture a very small cinema, probably one of the smallest cinemas ever made. I wanted it to be, I called it a center cinema at first. I wanted this cinema to move around the city and actually be something that people could carry on their shoulders. This was not allowed in the end because it was eventually quite dangerous. And the inside the cinema, as you can see, people can penetrate by bending down quite low and then coming into the cinema from below through some openings, some nozzles. Could we have the next? And inside, the building was going to be made, the structure was going to be made of cork and painted quite dark. And therefore, it would actually have acoustically and visually the ambiance of a cinema. Very quiet, we don't hear any of the outside noises at all, and very dark. So this is basically the idea. Next. And we built it. It was a very quick one-off project. We built you can see here the nozzles, these openings, these dark openings that you penetrate into the space. Next. And here they are from below, quite difficult. You have to really bend. It's like a rite of passage. Like a cinema, you have to have the rite of passage of penetrating this very special space. And the nozzles have these dark openings, which in a way are both scary and inviting. There's the mystery of what lies beyond this. We never told anybody this was a cinema. There was no indication this was a cinema. It's just a strange box that you can penetrate from below. Next. There it is. There's the object. Very simple design. Next. This was the first iteration. I built this project 3 times, once in Guimarães, once in Lisbon for the Architectural Triennale, and once also in Hong Kong several years later. It was instantly successful. People were intrigued and flocked towards this strange little object. Next image. And here's the view from the inside. We wanted to use a traditional projector, not a screen, not a LCD screen or LED screen, but a data projector. You can see here the ventilation. And here is a better image of the quality of the light inside. It was really, once you are inside, you are in a very dark, completely silent space. And you can then be fascinated by the movies. Next. This is before the COVID crisis. So people would very often share the nozzle openings, sometimes 2 people, sometimes 3 people on a skateboard, and which meant that there were 16 openings, but there was anything up to 50 people, I think once 60 people, because some people climbed in. Next. Here it is again with the first response of people wondering what this is, seeing that other people are inside, and therefore let's try and see what there is. Next. Children were particularly intrigued. Next. But also found it difficult because the nozzles were rather too high. So it called upon people helping children to come in. I did another project later. And here they are all flocking into the space. This is in Lisbon, not in Guimarães. And the next. Again, children being helped into the space and being amazed as to the experience. People usually stayed 3 minutes to see a film and then would go back to see another film and so forth. Next. Next. All generations, as you can see. Next. Lovers. Next. Now, this is an interesting image because you can see the person on the left tiptoeing and trying to get closer into the space. And the next. And eventually in Lisbon, a lot of people actually climbed in and spent the night inside the cinema and watched all the films. And this is quite an extraordinary event. Again, this is not possible now, but hopefully it will be. And then the final version was in Hong Kong. This time it was indoors and not outdoors in the shopping mall. It was indoors. Next. A slight change in the design, but I won't talk about that. Next. And again, the incredible fascination that people had in popping their heads into this structure. Next. The intriguing thing, and I won't discuss it any further, is that you are in a way like a centaur. You're divided into 2 parts. The upper part of your body is immersed in fiction, and the lower part is actually staying within reality. And that extraordinary sensation, which I won't describe anymore, but that sensation of being in two worlds simultaneously is one of the magics of this little, very modest little project. Next. And children in the third version, I put little pedestals for children to stand on, so they didn't need to be helped up. But this was, for me, one of the most important images of the total fascination that we all know is one of the major characteristics of film. And the films, with 42 films which you've seen. So this is all I want to say, simply to talk about what was a very beautiful experience of a very, very small cinema, this sort of archetypal confined cinema. Thank you, Louisa, for asking for this to be shown.
Thank you, Colin. I really love your project. That's why I asked you to come today and to join us and the jury and all the filmmakers to present your amazing project, which could also become something that we could consider to replicate if this will be ever possible in the public space, hopefully here in Italy. So let's stay in touch, Colin, because this could happen. Okay, so now we are moving to the second part of this event today. And I would like to invite members of the jurors to give us some comments, reflections and feedbacks regarding the competition, A Confined Urban Vision. Later, we will announce the awards. Please, who wants to start?
I can give it a go.
Yes, please, Rosie.
I was really fascinated to have some time to watch these films because when you are confined, I think these things are very, very beautiful to see how we are still creative and trying to adapt to the situation in many ways. So that's a very positive note. And with the films themselves, I also found them very captivating, a diversity of people in film and different ways of showing it from very simplistic ways of approaching it to a very mix of different mediums. So I am really happy with the outcome of it. And to really capture the humanity part of it, which I think for me was the most impressive thing, to understand how people are emotionally going through this moment and how to capture that in a video and how to create a story behind that, which for me was impressive.
Who's next? Ruben? You are
You're muted.
Hello, everyone. I'm very, I've been during a lot of video contests lately dealing with the subject of confinement, lockdowns, pandemics. And I have to say that the shortlisted collection that we've seen in this open call, it's probably also because it's happening now at a point of coming to an end, or seemingly coming to an end, or perhaps because we've accumulated a lot of experiences. I think that this selection probably is the most varied at the level of thematics, subjects that have been used and talked about. And, it was impressive to see the amount of experiences that this has generated and the crafting of these narratives, if we can say so. And what I would like to say after all of that is that what is interesting is that all of you have witnessed something historically very, very, that marks all of us at a specific moment that verges into the traumatic, and that witnessing, you created something that's gonna construct a legacy of that moment, that historical moment. And I think that's very interesting, and you should be all proud of that. That's basically what I want to say right now.
Who's next? Leandro?
Yeah, I would like to continue with this idea of Ruben, that the works we have seen in this competition, in a way, is like a historical testimony of a situation which is unique. And as I said before, it's something that is shared by all of us globally in the same time and creating the same space. Because one of the things that struck me when I was looking through the different videos and films is that the commonality of the experiences. I mean, we saw films that were recorded in Brazil or Italy or many other places, Norway and other places, but in a way could have been any other city. Could be a city in Brazil, a city in France, a city in Asia. Everybody, in a way, they're exchangeable, the experiences, and regardless the fact that some of the films portrayed successfully better than others a particular image, a particular city, there was a generality in all of them that could be shared as an experience. And that comes because we are now, in a way, protagonists also of the real movie that we are witnessing. I mean, sometimes we refer to this kind of dystopic situation that we are experiencing like something like a novel or like a film. that we are the protagonists of. In a way, this I think is also reflected in many of the works, that they reflect the situation from the outside, but also from the inside as protagonists. So I think I was wondering, and now continuing with the idea of Ruben, how all of this work will be seen in 10 years from now. I mean, if all of this repository of works remains online and 10 years later somebody comes outside of the experience we are still witnessing now, how they will be perceived? I mean, will they lose meaning? Will they be even more meaningful than they are now? These are some open questions I have.
Patricia, you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, Julia, for the opportunity of being a juror of this competition, and thank you to all the filmmakers and creators also for the opportunity of seeing your work. I enjoyed very much seeing all these films, and they are quite diverse. We have very inward-looking films. We have some films that look more outward. We have films that are very rooted in the urban environment, and this was very interesting for me to see all this this diversity. Also, I think just following up on what Leandro just said, that in 10 years or 15 years, if we look back at the films that have been produced about this dystopic reality we are living right now, I think it will be very interesting because they are a document of how we are living these confinement moments, and how they are this moment is having a very big impact on cities, on how we live cities, on how we connect to urban space. So there are many films that also reflect about this issue, which is the issue, one of the main issues of our project, right? Well, how we connect with the urban public space. And in fact, I think this is something that will, in academia, in urban studies or architecture, this theme of, and now how do we relate to urban space? Is this a new era for urban public space, on how we will live it? Or are we now more afraid of urban space, or are we more eager to live urban space, in urban spaces, public spaces? So I think these films are very important documents for the future and for reflecting on these public space issues, but also as we were talking about the other day, the more inward-looking films also can make us think about our relationship with others, and how in this moment of confinement, of the virus spreading, how we dealt with this in our relation. Are we more closed off, or are we more engaged with others, even online? How do we relate to others in this specific moment? I think this is also very, very important and very well reflected in some of the movies I have seen. And just to say, maybe if I have felt something was missing from this, not really missing, but I think it could be maybe more, there are not many films about that, and I felt that maybe this would be also interesting, would be to have seen a couple films or a couple more films that dealt with the social impacts, negative impacts of the confinement. And this was not very, very present in this selection of movies. But I think maybe in the future there will be more work also done about this. Thank you.
So Colin, do you want to add to these comments your point of view?
Well, if I may, I mean, I've already spoken enough. There's only one comment I want to make. And in a way, it's the cliche that it has been very difficult to choose a film or 3 films. But beyond that cliche, I just want to say one main thing, that I think the art piece is actually the 42 films as a whole. And I think it's important because during the confinement, there's been a lot of cultural events which have been collective cultural events, including symphonic performances where each member of the orchestra is actually playing separately and then trying to find a way of merging all the data. So for me, in a sense, the 42 pieces are fragments of a collective piece. And because they're very short films, there's no way any individual film could actually cover the vastness of the issues which you raise as a question. So I think it actually is a collage or a montage of all the 42 films, which are really what fascinated me most in this event that we went through. And I wish very much that next year, if your event is going to be a physical event, that people will have the ability to see what we saw, which is the combination, extraordinary combination of these 42 films, which have very different, they are universal, and I agree with a point made before, but in a way they are all from very different angles. And because the pieces together really form a piece which we have had the pleasure of seeing, I just hope that beyond the choice of the three that we made, people will have a choice, opportunity to have access to the files that we had access to. And I see no reason why you should not make those files available, because they are, you know, you've done it. And it's an amazing experience to drift from one experience to another.
Thank you, Colin. Yes, you're right. It was very difficult to make a selection, also starting from the more than 300 short films that were submitted. So even to select 42 films from all submissions was extremely difficult. But I think that we unanimously found the winners, and the fact that we have so many other films that are still relevant for the competition is very important, and that's why we believe that having a special event next year during the film festival Urban Visions Beyond the Ideal City in Bologna in April will be the opportunity to continue the discussion and to continue reflections, because the pandemic is evolving, and so the confinement is still present in our everyday life. So if the jury doesn't want to add additional comments, I think we are ready to announce the awards. Okay, so Julia, the floor is yours for the audience award.
Thank you, Luisa. And I also want to thank all the jurors and our guest artist, Colin, for the very entertaining and inspiring discussion. Adding to that, I want to say that my role in the team of the selection process, part of this competition, as well as for the Film Festival Urban Visions and of City Space Architecture, was definitely not easy. We have seen a lot of movies from all over the world, so the cultural backgrounds were very different from each other, as well as the genres. We have seen documentaries, fiction, to animation or experimental films, as well as music performance. But personally, I want to say that I'm really proud and satisfied of the 42 finalists. And I'm also honored to be here to announce the Audience Award winner. Before announcing the winner and inviting him or her for a quick interview, I would like to show the 3 movies that received the most votes. Just a second, please. Yes. So the 3 movies that received the most votes are the following. So the 3 finalists for the Audience Award are Piano Sequenza from Davide Calvaresi, Tales of the Balcony from Chinetta, and Year Zero Restart from Domenica Agosto. Considering all the discussion that has been done already, I would like not to make you wait any longer. So without further ado, the winner of the Audience Award of the short film competition, A Confined Urban Vision, is... What? Year Zero Restart by Domenica Agosto.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Domenica, are you here?
Yes.
We would like to see you if possible.
Thank you so much. We are very happy and excited because it is our first short film to win an award. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you actually for participating, and congratulations again. I just would like to ask you a very quick question about your movie, of course, about your film. How did you start the process of this short film, and what brought you to produce this documentary?
I produce the short film with my friend in August for a passion.
So it comes from your own hobby, from your own personal passions.
Yes.
And is this your first movie?
Yes.
Well, then congrats, because the audience from home, from all over the world, we received really more than 630 votes, and you are the winner with more than 20% overall. So congratulations.
Thank you again.
So Domenico, you will receive a certificate of excellence from our competition, and it will be sent by email, but let us know if you also would like to have a printed copy of the certificate.
Okay.
Okay, so now we move to the 2 honorable mentions. We have been discussing with the jury regarding these 2 honorable mentions, since we were looking for films that were actually following the competition brief and that could give a significance to this lockdown, not just in terms of the urban condition of the pandemic, but also in regard to the contents, the social contents, the human contents of the lockdown period. So after long discussions, we have selected 2 honorable mentions. The first honorable mention for the short film competition A Confined Urban Vision is A Mask for Everyone by Anna Faruqi and Haim Peretz from Germany. This is the motivation that comes from the jury. A mask for everyone is the solidarity trip we should be taking at this moment of social fragility. It focuses on being together, transcending the limitations of social condition imposed by the pandemic, raising questions about our own availability to participate in solidarity actions in this particular moment. The story is told simply and directly. Without any rhetoric, A Mask for Everyone shows us that something can be done, that there is a way to fight back and protect ourselves from the virus, and that we can all take part actively rather than remain passive. Congratulations. Do we have the directors here? Anna and Haim? Can we check from the list of participants? No, probably they are not here. Okay, so we move to the other.
They're not here, Luisa, but yeah, we will contact them definitely.
Of course, yes, we will contact them by email, of course. And now we move to the second honorable mention. So the second honorable mention of the short film competition A Confined Urban Vision is Gone by Annika Salvesen. And this is the motivation from the jury. Gone shows the impact of the lockdown in the city of Oslo. The slow pace of the camera movement and the total absence of any commentary promote a powerful ambience of reflection and wonder. The soundtrack is excellent in reinforcing the atmosphere of gloom and emptiness and of the absence of any life. The viewer is left to imagine the circumstances that have led to this level of urban and dystopic desolation, questioning the individual, social, and urban implications of the emptiness, addressing bareness and vulnerability. Annika, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Hi.
Hi. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very excited. That was not expected.
Congratulations. So you will receive a certificate of excellence via email or also printed if you prefer. So we would like to know about your film. So how did you produce the film? What about the idea? How, if it was difficult during this lockdown, the filming and the operational activities? Tell us something more.
Okay, so let me just start with the fact that I'm really glad that it resonates not only in Oslo, because for a long time I thought that it's mostly going to make an impact on the audience that knows Oslo as a city. So I was a little bit, I didn't send it to festivals outside of Norway. And then I've decided, okay, let's see if actually the audience abroad is going to feel the same way as we felt in Oslo. So it's basically, it started when when the lockdown started in March. I was planning another documentary in Poland, where I'm from, but it's just it became irrelevant as soon as we went into the lockdown. So that was the first film that I also filmed myself, because before I was working with camera people. And it's just after a walk in Oslo and after seeing what basically happened to a vibrant city, and I've decided that this is a historical thing, and if I'm going to regret it if I'm not going to film it, if I'm not going to try to show how I feel during this time and how basically everything else seemed irrelevant when the lockdown started. So yeah, this is how the film started.
Okay, so we are glad that you decided to submit your film to our competition. So thank you again. And we are actually glad that you moved to this Italian competition, which is addressing also European issues related to the pandemic. That's why it is very important to share what we are experiencing during this pandemic.
I totally agree. Thank you for the honorable.
Thank you again. Okay, so now we move to the first prize award of this competition. So the first prize award, the winner of a Confined Urban Vision is Quarantine Mood by Alessandro Marinelli. I'm reading now the motivation of the jury. Quarantine Mood convincingly portrays how the perception of the city has changed during the lockdown. The city of Rome reveals undiscovered public spaces, capturing the sensitive pastel palette of the rooftops, showing how the everyday life starts again in the only private outdoor spaces, while the confinement continues. It makes one reflect critically on how resilient and cohesive the urban population is capable of being and how imaginative it proves to be in making creative use of the available resources within urban space and architecture. Quarantine Mood is able to emotionally depict the urban environment as a stage for the inventive and adaptability of urban citizens. The photography is striking and the narrative is compelling. Congratulations, Alessandro. Are you with us? Alessandro, if you are speaking, you are muted.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm so excited. The motivation is very important, very fine. Wow, I'm so excited.
We are excited too, because actually I think the jurors unanimously voted for your film. We also had a discussion, of course, to share reflections and also to write this motivation. So we really believe that your film is answering in the best possible way to our competition.
Thank you, thank you.
So please tell us something about your film. So your idea, how it started, and what kind of problems, in case you had, you found in operational activities.
Okay, my idea came one afternoon in March when I discovered that I have access to a commune terrace. And I started shooting when Italy living with beaten brief the drama of the epidemic and trying to adapt to a difficult condition of isolation. And with this work, I tried to give back the emotion that we were all feeling. And my eyes try to capture the life I saw around me, which ultimately was also the reflection of what I had inside. And quindi the interesting things and during the lockdown, the street, the square were emptied, and the terraces instead were filled. The daily activities and had moved to the terraces, and this was very interesting because people were looking for a vital space for their activities, to play sports, to have fun. And the dancer impressed me a lot because they represented the desire to start practicing beauty again.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think we all want to see your film again. And we asked to all filmmakers the shortlisted films to make them films publicly available to compete for the Audience Award on our website. So if you agree, we kindly ask you to give us the opportunity to screen publicly your films until Monday midnight, so that on social media we will share the announcement of the winners of this competition, and we will give the audience the opportunity to watch your films. So after Monday, 21st of December at midnight, you can put the password or remove full accessibility to your films. And we can replace the link to your film with a picture or an image that you sent us previously. And we hope to see you all in Italy. next year for the film festival Urban Visions Beyond the Ideal City, since we will continue to talk about the confinement and the pandemic, and we will arrange a special session dedicated to a confined urban vision, with also public talk and a small exhibitions with the selected short films. So for sure, we would like to have our winners to come to Bologna if possible, if it will be allowed. Traveling in April could be possible, we hope. Also, we would like to invite you to share contents of this competition across your networks and social media. It's really a great experience for me as a curator to be in touch with so many artworks and film productions. We saw so many different genres, as Julia was mentioning, and I really experienced the creative spirit of this human activity behind the scenes while the confinement was actually generating a lot of loneliness, fear, somehow desperation in many different countries. So I think these films are also giving us the opportunity to lift the spirit while we still live in the confinement. So I hope to have the opportunity to stay in touch with you all in the next months. And again, you are all invited to come to Bologna in April for our film festival, to meet us and meet the jurors and participate in the screening of your film. So if nobody wants to say anything else, I would like to just say goodbye and see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Hope to see you
you.
all in Bologna.
Till next time.